My name's Haley Steinfeld, and on the week I turned 18, my parents didn't just forget my birthday. They quietly set me up to sign paperwork tied to my brother's gift condo in Miami. 5 years later, I was the one holding the pen that decided his address. If your past looks anything like that, share your experience in the comments. On my 18th birthday, I sat in my room eating instant ramen alone, while my whole family went to a party celebrating my brother officially becoming an adult. A laptop balanced on my knees, laundry thumped in the dryer, and a pot of water rattled on the stove. From the hallway, my mom's voice carried, sharp and cheerful. "Stand up straight, Evan. You want to look like a man." My brother laughed. The smell of cologne drifted in, the kind my dad wore for weddings and job interviews. The timer on my assignment blinked. 10 minutes to submit. I hit save, wiped my hands on my hoodie, and stepped out. "Hey, it's my birthday today." Mom didn't turn around. She was pinning something on Evan's lapel with the focus of a paramedic. "Yeah, we'll talk later. I'm running late." Dad appeared behind me with a stack of envelopes and printed forms already clipped together like homework. "Can you sign a couple spots for me? Just initial where it's highlighted." The top page said pre-approval in big, bold letters. Under that, DocuSign. My eyes snag on an address in Brickell, Miami, and a handwritten note in the corner. Tour 10 a.m., Thursday. "Why is this in my name?" slipped out before I could soften it. Dad's smile held, thin as tape. "It's not. Just help me out." Mom called from the foyer. "Shoes on, let's go. Haley, stay home with the dog and lock up." The dog, our dog, trotted in circles like he'd been promised steak. Evan snatched his jacket, threw me a grin, and said, "Don't burn the place down." They moved as a unit toward the front door. Mom doubled back for her car keys, and the doorbell light blinked red once, then went dark. By the time taillights vanished, my bedroom felt like a storage closet with Wi-Fi. I went to grab my wallet for something other than ramen. The slot where my Social Security card usually lived was empty. So was my state ID. My phone buzzed. "Credit alert. Hard inquiry." "Of course," I said to nobody. Water boiled over. I killed the burner without thinking, like messing up dinner would somehow make the day worse. At 7 p.m., I stirred noodles and watched steam fog my glasses. 18, I muttered. Gift list, 1 packet of sodium, and an electric bill. A notification popped up. My aunt's story. Evan in a ballroom under a banner that read, "Officially an adult." My mom hugging him like she'd just won something. Then tires crunched in the driveway. The front door slammed open. My mom's heels snapped down the hallway. She didn't call my name. She headed straight to my room, yanked open my dresser drawer, and started digging. "Where is it? Where is it?" she hissed, tossing socks aside. I stood in the doorway with my phone clenched hard, the screen lit up with one line. DocuSign. Action required. Mom didn't mention the dresser drawer at breakfast. She just slid past me, humming, like she hadn't been on her knees digging through my socks the night before. A sticky note waited by the dog's bowl. Feed him. Lock up. Be a grown-up. At the property management office, I'd barely hung my badge when Todd, my manager, caught my elbow and steered me toward his door. "Your family called," he said. He stayed standing, which meant I was supposed to stand too. "They told me you're having a situation. Are we going to have a situation here?" "They shouldn't be calling you," I said. Todd's mouth tightened. "I don't care who's right at home. I care that tenants don't see drama at this desk. Handle it." He nodded toward the lobby. "Go." 2 leasing agents watched me return like I'd set off the fire alarm. My phone kept lighting up with messages I hadn't asked for. Aunt Marla. "Don't shut everyone out. Your mom is trying to help." Cousin Jessa. "Why are you doing this to Evan?" Mom had gotten to them before I'd even had a chance to decide what to say. Between calls, I texted my dad. Me. "Why is there DocuSign for Brickell and a credit inquiry on my report?" Richard. "Don't make this a big thing. Just sign it. We need it." Me. "Need what?" Richard. "Paperwork for the family." That was as specific as he ever got when he wanted me to stop asking. Near lunch, Nina Alvarez walked in with a slim folder and her expression that said she'd already read the fine print on the room. She handled title and escrow for some of our owners and always looked like she had 3 calendars running at once. Nina tipped her chin at me. "You look tense." "Busy," I said. Her gaze dropped to my hands. The pen I was holding tapped the counter in a steady, stupid rhythm. "Show me the email," she said. The closest agent leaned over her monitor, pretending to be invested in an apartment brochure. I pulled up the credit alert and the DocuSign request. Nina took my phone, scrolled, and made a small sound in her throat. "Hard inquiry. That's not a glitch," she said. "And this is an LLC." She slowed down on the name. "Steinfeld Holdings, LLC." "My mom said it's nothing," I replied. Nina handed my phone back like it was warm. "Nothing doesn't borrow your identity." FaceTime flashed across the screen. Mom. My thumb hit the wrong spot and the call went live. Cynthia's face appeared, hair perfect, earrings on, like she'd stepped out of a catalog instead of my hallway. "Hi, honey," she said. "You at work?" Nina reached over and put it on speaker without asking. Part of me wanted to stop her. A bigger part wanted witnesses. "Yes," I said. "Good, then listen. You need to sign. Consider it your birthday gift to your brother," Mom said. "You're an adult now. Do the adult thing. So this year we're doing birthday gifts as loans," I said, calm enough to scare myself. Her smile held for half a second and then cracked. "Don't be sarcastic. You always make things difficult." Nina spoke into the phone. "Ma'am, your daughter didn't authorize a credit pull. She shouldn't be signing anything." Mom's eyes shifted, sharp. "Who are you?" "A person who reads what people sign," Nina said. Todd's office door opened. He didn't walk out, just watched. "Haley," he called. "Not here." I ended the call. Todd came closer, voice low. "Whatever family mess you've got, keep it off my floor. One more scene and we're done." Nina caught my sleeve and guided me toward the printer alcove. 3 steps, she said. "Freeze your credit, screenshot every alert and email, request the full PDF, no cropped pages." "My dad says I have to sign by Friday," I said. Nina's mouth twitched. "Of course you do." An email landed with a subject line that didn't bother with subtlety. "Final notice, signature required by 5 p.m. Friday." A second later, Mom texted, "If you don't sign by Friday, I'll have to tell everyone what you did to this family." The next email I sent was simple. "Please resend the full packet as a PDF. I want to read every page." Cynthia replied with a grainy phone photo, crooked on the screen, where the margins were chopped and the signature page was, conveniently, not there. She added, "That's all you need." Nina leaned over my shoulder at the office printer, scrolled twice, and said, "Funny how the most important page always goes missing." Another text landed from Mom. "Stop stalling." I saved the image, labeled it proof, and asked for the DocuSign link again, in writing, so it time-stamped. Back at my desk, the DocuSign notice showed it had been forwarded from an address I didn't recognize. Something like Hall 17 at, not my dad's. Nina pointed at the header details. "Someone set an automatic rule," she said. "It's being routed on purpose." That made the night before line up differently. The doorbell system dying right when Cynthia ran back for her keys, the dresser drawer being searched like a crime scene. My phone lit up with a group message. "Haley is sabotaging Evan's future." Todd emailed too, asking me to keep personal matters off property lines. He'd gotten her call. The address on the pre-approval sat like a dare, so I took my lunch break and drove toward Brickell. The lobby of the lender's office was all glass and polite smiles. A receptionist handed me a clipboard without looking up. I wrote my name, then asked, "Can someone confirm what Steinfeld Holdings LLC is using my information for?" The woman's smile tightened. "Do you have an appointment?" "No," I said. "I have a credit inquiry." She disappeared, then returned with a junior staffer who spoke in a lower voice. He slid a folder across the counter, half covered by his hand. "This file lists you under guarantor," he said, tapping a line, "and some personal identifiers match." He didn't say it like an accusation, more like he was warning me about weather. "So my name is just There, I said. He nodded once. My throat stayed steady, which surprised me. Quick question, I asked. Is this a $2 million gift or a $2 million bill wearing a bow? His eyes flicked to the lobby. My phone rang. Cynthia's name filled the screen, and then her voice hit my ear. "What are you doing?" she snapped. "Requesting the supervisor," I said, held ground there. Cynthia swept into the lobby 5 minutes later, like she'd been waiting nearby. She went straight to the counter, smiling at the staffer. "I'm her mother," she announced, then turned to me. "Are you trying to embarrass me in public?" The junior guy stared at his keyboard. I kept my voice level. "I'm trying to see the full file." Cynthia's smile dropped. "You don't get to do this," she said. "If you walk out of here without signing, you're choosing sides." She leaned closer. "And you'll regret it." A woman in a blazer came out, asked for ID, and listened. The supervisor didn't promise anything. She just said, "If you believe your identity was used, you can file a dispute." She slid a form toward me, the kind with tiny checkboxes and consequences. Cynthia laughed once, sharp. "This is insane." The supervisor didn't react. Nina's words echoed in my head only as instructions, not comfort, so the pen moved. I checked the box for potential fraud and wrote a short statement. Cynthia started talking faster, trying to fill the air. The supervisor took the papers and said, "We'll place a hold while we review." She pushed a pad toward me. At the bottom of the pad was a line for my signature, confirming I'd submitted the dispute. Cynthia's nails clicked on the counter as she said, "You are doing this to punish your brother." The supervisor's tone stayed neutral. "Ma'am, please step back." My hand hovered for half a second, then signed. The ink hadn't dried when my phone buzzed again. A message from my bank popped up across the screen. "Account review initiated." Cynthia saw it at the same time and reached for my phone, and my fingers tightened around it as she grabbed the edge of my wrist. "Ma'am, let go of her." Mom released me like she was doing me a favor. The junior guy stared at his shoes. I signed the receipt with my left hand and walked out before anyone could offer another form. In the parking garage, my phone buzzed again. "Your debit card is temporarily locked due to account review for now." By morning, the lock felt personal. At the ATM across from the office, the screen flashed "declined," then swallowed my card and spit it back out. I called the bank and got a script. "Until review is complete, we can't lift the restriction." At work, Todd didn't wait for hello. "Haley, you're off schedule. Go home until this clears." His eyes slid past mine like I was a leak in drywall. Todd shut his door and lowered his voice. "Your mom sent me screenshots, audio too. She says you've been threatening the family." "My mom edits grocery lists," I said. "She can edit anything." He shrugged. "I don't know what's true. I know what liability looks like." He slid a paper across the desk. "Unpaid leave, effective immediately. Don't come back until you can prove you're stable." That was his speech. Home looked the same until my bedroom. The bottom drawer had a shiny new lock, like the dresser had joined a gym. I tried the old key anyway. Nothing. Richard stood behind me in the hall, hands in pockets, shoulders hunched. "Where are my documents?" He didn't answer right away. "I don't want to be in the middle, Haley." "Then move," I said. His gaze dropped to the floor and stayed. On the kitchen counter sat the service email for the doorbell system. Scheduled maintenance. No footage retained. The date matched my birthday. I pulled up the short clip I'd saved, the one that showed the light blinking before it died. The middle seconds weren't there anymore. It jumped like a skipped record. Richard watched me scroll. "Your mom said you're twisting things," he murmured. He said like that ended it. Nina answered on the second ring. "Tell me you froze your credit," she said. "I did. My bank locked me out anyway." "That happens when you touch a live file." Her voice stayed practical. She rattled off addresses, report numbers, a checklist of documents to request. "And don't sit down with Cynthia alone," Nina added. "Bring a witness or don't go." I wrote every word on a receipt at lunch. 2 days later, my aunt's story popped up again. This time it wasn't a ballroom. It was a view over Brickell, Evan holding a set of keys like a trophy. Cynthia stood beside him, smiling hard. The caption read, "A reward for the child who makes us the most proud." Messages flooded in. "Why can't you just be happy for him?" Todd forwarded one note. "Please don't contact the office." The caption sat on my screen like a receipt. I opened my suitcase and didn't negotiate with myself. Laptop first, one change of clothes. The thin folder Nina told me to keep, with screenshots, emails, and the dispute receipt. Everything else stayed. Trophies, yearbooks, the jewelry box Cynthia picked out once and then forgot. The zipper closed with a sound that felt final. Then I left the room, no warning. The wheels of the suitcase bumped over the hallway threshold. Cynthia was in the living room, already waiting, like she'd been listening for that sound. "Where are you going?" Her tone wasn't worried. It was irritated, like I'd moved a chair without asking. "You can't leave right now," she said. My phone started vibrating with an unknown number over and over. I wrapped my hand around the doorknob and pulled. The door swung outward and the heat hit my face. Cynthia crossed the room fast, bare feet slapping tile. "Haley, don't you dare," she said. Nina's door opened before I knocked a second time. She took one look at my suitcase and my face and stepped aside. "Come in." The couch had a folded blanket on it like she'd planned for this. She pointed at the bathroom, then the kitchen. "Water's there, phone charger's on the table. You can sleep." "Thank you," I said, because it was the only thing that didn't sound like a fight. Nina didn't ask for the full story. She asked one question. "Did Cynthia follow you?" "No." "Good. Then eat something." She handed me a yogurt and went back to her laptop, typing like the world still ran on deadlines, even if my life didn't. I set my suitcase by the wall and sank onto the couch. The phone kept buzzing with unknown numbers until I flipped it face down. Morning came with the same buzz, just more official. The bank app still showed a red banner, account under review. My work schedule had been wiped clean. A new email from Todd said, "We'll reach out when we have clarity." The family group chat sat frozen, no new messages, like they'd finally achieved the dream of a Haley-free conversation. Nina slid a mug across the table. "Coffee. Drink it. Then we work." On the coffee table, my thin folder looked ridiculous next to her neat stacks of closing packets. I opened it anyway and spread things out. Screenshots, the lender receipt, the cropped photo Cynthia sent, the DocuSign notice. A legal pad came next, because paper doesn't get hacked. For 72 hours, I'd been trying to win an argument. I'd told the truth, I'd asked for fairness, I'd stood in lobbies and said the words out loud, like that should have forced reality to cooperate. Meanwhile, Cynthia had been making calls, sending curated messages, and choosing what other people saw. The mistake wasn't trusting her. The mistake was thinking she cared whether I was right. Another mistake sat closer to my ribs. Asking for help had always felt like failing, so I made myself useful instead. I did chores, I signed things, I stayed calm. People called that mature, and then used it to justify leaving me out. Nina watched me write a timeline with times and names. "You're doing it again," she said. Doing what? Trying to solve a fire with manners. I kept writing. "Okay," I said, "what's the right way?" Nina turned her laptop toward me. She'd pulled up the DocuSign email details, the boring technical stuff everyone ignores. "See this?" she said, tapping a line. "Forwarded by a rule from an address that isn't your dad. And this device tag? It's not yours either." What does that mean? "It means you stop begging for the signature page and you demand the audit trail," Nina said. "DocuSign keeps logs, time, IP, the whole chain." She pointed again. "Name on the header is H. Steinfeld, and the routing account is under Steinfeld Holdings, LLC. That's your hook." My stomach tightened, but my hand stayed on the pad. "Where do I go?" I asked. "Downtown, title and escrow office on Brickell Avenue. Not the lender's lobby, the people who handle filings," Nina said. "You request the audit trail. Then you file a formal dispute with the credit bureaus using the same packet. Consistency matters." What if Todd fires me? Nina's shrug was small. Then he fires you. Jobs come back. Credit can haunt you. What if my mom gets in trouble? Nina held my eyes. Then your mom gets called what she is on paper. She didn't say it with anger. She said it like a weather report. I looked at my phone and saw another unknown number. I let it ring. Nina didn't reach for it. Nobody did. On her desk, she pulled up the dispute form and slid the mouse toward me. Read it, then decide. My finger hovered over the button labeled Request Audit Trail. Under it sat another link, Formal Dispute. A breath went in, slow, and my fingertip pressed down as the confirmation window popped up. A bar started moving, and I kept my hand on the mouse, waiting for it to finish. Confirmation landed in Nina's inbox before the coffee cooled. She printed the audit trail and the title packet from the escrow portal, clipped them together, and set them in front of me like a menu no one orders on purpose. Read the timestamps, she said. The log wasn't poetic. It was just a list. A DocuSign envelope created, forwarded, viewed, forwarded again. A rule labeled auto route pushed it to an address with my last name, then to mine. Each step had a time, a device fingerprint, and a location tag. Thursday, 6:42 p.m. Envelope created. 6:44 p.m. Email rule updated. 6:47 p.m. Viewed on iPhone. 6:49 p.m. SMS verification requested. Those minutes sat right where my birthday night lived, when Cynthia had sent me to watch the dog, and the party pictures started rolling in. Nina flipped to the next page and tapped the device line. That's not your phone, she said. It's registered to a different Apple ID. She slid a second printout forward. The doorbell service ticket from my mom's email account, pulled through a shared family login Nina had insisted I change the night before. Scheduled maintenance. Request date, 2 weeks prior. Time window, my birthday evening. My throat went dry, but my voice stayed even. She planned the outage. Nina didn't nod like it was dramatic. She just kept turning pages. The title packet showed Steinfeld Holdings LLC as purchaser, the Brickell address, and a financing worksheet with a familiar blank. Guarantor. My name. Why would they need me? Came out flat. Nina pointed at the debt-to-income section. They need a clean profile, she said. Your credit cushions the loan. Without you, the numbers don't close. Her phone buzzed. She glanced, then handed it over. Your dad just texted me. He asked if you're calming down. I typed back from my number. Did you know Mom used my info? A bubble appeared, vanished, appeared again. I don't know what you think you saw. It's in the audit trail. You're making this into something it isn't. Nina leaned back, arms folded. He knows, she said. He's choosing the least noisy option. Another email arrived from the lender. We have a signed consent and authorization on file. Your dispute will be reviewed in due course. Attached was a scanned form with my printed name and a signature that tried to look like mine. The document also had a witness line filled in, Cynthia Steinfeld. My phone buzzed with a photo from Mom, Evan, smiling in front of a building lobby, keys up. Under it, she wrote, Do you want to be the reason he loses this? Then Richard texted again. I don't remember you saying it was your birthday. You've been upset for days. Within minutes, Cynthia posted that screenshot to the family chat with a caption. See, she's lying because she's jealous. A letter hit Nina's mailbox that afternoon, delivered by courier. It wasn't from a court. It was from a law firm with a polished logo and a plain threat. Cease and desist. Stop interfering with the transaction. Stop making false statements. Further action could include claims for defamation and tortious interference. Nina read it once, then pushed it across the table. They're not trying to win, she said. They're trying to stall you until Friday. Can they sue me, I asked. They can file anything, Nina said. The question is whether you can afford to fight it while they close. She pulled up the escrow calendar on her screen and turned it toward me. Final signature deadline, Friday, 5 p.m. A separate line read, Recording scheduled, pending execution. Nina spoke like she was calling plays. They're running out the clock. Once that deed records, you'll be chasing a shadow. The date sat there in black text. My phone showed Thursday morning. Nina pointed at the purchaser line again. Your mom wanted the photo, she said. Keys, skyline, everyone at church clapping. Evan gets the headline, Richard keeps the peace, and you carry the risk. That's the deal they made. She highlighted a row with her pen. Her eyes stayed steady on mine. Close of business Friday. If they record, it's harder to unwind. So we move now. 48 hours. Nina booked the conference room at the title office on Brickell Avenue for 2:30 p.m. Thursday. I texted my mom that I was ready to sign, as long as I could review the full packet with everyone present. Cynthia replied in under a minute. Finally, she wrote, don't make this weird. Richard answered separately. We'll talk like adults, he said. Nina met me in the lobby and handed me a visitor badge. She'd already told the title officer, a woman named Patrice, that the meeting would be recorded for the file and that everyone would receive a copy of the notes. Patrice nodded once and set a small recorder on the table. This is standard, Patrice said. It protects everyone. My parents arrived together, dressed like they were going to brunch. Cynthia carried a leather folder and Evan's condo brochure stuck out of it like a flag. Hi, sweetheart, Cynthia said, aiming the word at Patrice instead of me. Let's just get this done, Richard added. I sat down, laid my phone face up, and slid my own folder across the table. Before anyone signs anything, I said, I need to confirm what's been submitted under my name. Patrice folded her hands. Nina placed the audit trail printouts on top, followed by the credit alert, the email header showing the auto-forward rule, and the maintenance ticket for our doorbell service. Cynthia didn't look at the papers. She looked at me. This is ridiculous, she said. I'm your mother. I would never hurt my daughter. Richard cleared his throat and tried to smooth it over. We can go home and talk, he said. No need to do this here. Patrice didn't move. She tapped the audit trail with her pen. Mrs. Steinfeld, Patrice said. The envelope was created at 6:42 p.m. and viewed on an iPhone registered to a different account. It was forwarded by an auto rule from an address labeled H. Steinfeld. That's not accidental. Cynthia's smile tried to come back. You're twisting it, she said. Haley has always been dramatic. Nina slid one more page out of the stack, a portal upload log Patrice had pulled that morning. This shows a scan of Haley's ID and Social Security card, uploaded from a device tied to your email, Nina said. Timestamp matches the night the drawer was opened. For the first time, Richard looked at Cynthia instead of the table. Cynthia, he said, what is this? Cynthia's voice rose, the victim tone dropping away. She's cold, Cynthia said, pointing at me. She doesn't feel things like normal people. She needs to learn a lesson. The room went still in a way even Cynthia couldn't fill. Then you're right, I said, keeping my hands flat. I'm learning. Title and Fraud 101. Patrice didn't react to the line. She slid her chair back and stood. I'm freezing this file pending investigation, Patrice said. I'm notifying the lender of suspected identity misuse, and I'm documenting today's statements. Cynthia snatched at the paper stack, as if grabbing it could erase it. Give me that, Cynthia snapped. Patrice raised her palm and spoke without volume. Ma'am, stop, Patrice said. The front desk phone rang, and Patrice answered with 2 words, then nodded toward the doorway. A building security guard stepped in, not rushing, just present. Another woman in a suit appeared behind him, holding a clipboard and an envelope. Cynthia Steinfeld, the woman asked. Cynthia's face shifted, and her hand kept clutching the papers like they were hers. This is harassment, Cynthia said. The woman held out the envelope. You're being served documentation of the dispute and preservation request, she said. Richard looked like he might sit down, then didn't. Cynthia stood up so fast her chair scraped, and Patrice's pen rolled a few inches across the table. Patrice picked it up, set it beside my folder, and said, Miss Stemfeld, do you consent to us releasing the audit trail to the lender and credit bureaus today? Yes, I said. Patrice nodded like she'd heard 1,000 versions of yes and no, then reached for her keyboard. Cynthia still stood there with her hand clamped on the papers, the security guard close enough that she couldn't pretend she didn't notice him. This is my family, Cynthia snapped. This is a file, Patrice replied. Richard's mouth opened, then shut. The woman with the clipboard offered Cynthia the envelope again. "Ma'am, please accept service." Cynthia took it with 2 fingers like it might stain her. Nina gathered my packet and slid it back to me. Nobody hugged anybody. No one apologized. We walked out through the lobby while Cynthia hissed my name behind us, and the elevator doors closed before she could finish the sentence. That week turned into forms, reference numbers, and more polite voices explaining what review meant. Nina helped me file disputes with the bureaus and pull my reports. I filed a police report because the desk officer told me to, not because I thought anyone was going to cuff my mother in the middle of Miami. Cynthia didn't call to ask if I was okay. She called to tell people I was unstable. A woman from church stopped Nina in a grocery store line and said, "Your friend needs prayer." Nina answered, "She needs a lawyer." Word traveled fast in the community my mom cared about. Cynthia had spent years building a reputation as the helpful, organized woman who hosted baby showers and brought casseroles. Now the whisper version had an add-on. She'd messed with her daughter's paperwork. People didn't ask me if it was true. They asked Nina if I was doing better. Richard paid for the silence the way he always did, with money and a tired face. The lender didn't vanish, the legal letters didn't evaporate, and the costs stacked up. He sold his fishing boat, then the second car. I saw the listings online because the internet loves a bargain, even when it's your life. Evan kept the condo, technically. It turned into a headline that wouldn't stop changing. HOA notices, special assessments, temporary fees, a lifestyle he'd been handed, with invoices attached. He texted once, "Can you just stop? You're making Mom cry." I didn't answer. By the time my credit cleared, my job was gone for good. Todd never called back. Nina didn't pity me. She handed me leads. "Property management's hiring," she said. "You learn the game, or you keep getting played." So I learned. I started at the bottom again, leasing units and chasing late fees. I moved into title and escrow work because papers were the only part of my family that ever told the truth. I rebuilt my credit the boring way, one payment at a time, while my parents told anyone who'd listen that I'd run away. 5 years later, a different conference room held a different stack of documents. My company had just acquired a distressed portfolio in Brickell and Edgewater. The deal included a complex mix of notes, a master lease, and an association agreement that gave us the right to restructure units tied to delinquent obligations. On the screen, the asset manager scrolled through a list of addresses. One unit number jumped out at me because I'd seen it on my mother's brag posts. Evans. The room waited. Not for my feelings, for my signature. A relocation package sat in the binder, same as every other affected resident. Cash for keys, a moving stipend, a deadline. No revenge clause, no special carve-out for someone's son. That was the point of doing it this way. Procedure didn't care who cried. I signed the approval and slid the folder forward. "Remind me to eat lunch," I told my assistant, checking the time. "Today, I'm not doing ramen." The phone on the table lit up with a number I hadn't saved. When I answered, Cynthia was already crying. "Haley, please," she said. "This is your brother." Richard came on next, voice low and strained. "You're the only one who can fix this." I didn't argue. No speech, no courtroom tone. My thumb opened a new message and I typed one line. "I grew up. Thanks for forgetting my birthday that year." Then I hit send. The call kept ringing after I ended it, like persistence could rewrite a paper trail. I deleted both numbers, set my phone face down, and stood up. Keys in hand, I walked out to my next appointment while the conference room door swung shut behind me.